Well, free agency. The Jets haven't been so aggressive in day one of free agency. Not all what Jets fans have been really expecting, but hopefully we get some news tonight. My guest is Jets content creator, the incredible, the one, the only, Mr. Matt O'Leary. So let's roll.
Jets, Jets, let's go.
Jets wide receiver Wesley Walker. Wesley, how you doing today? ESPN writer Mr. Rich Samini, Jets reporter for The Athletic, Mr. Zach Rosenblatt, Hall of Famer and Jets legend Mr. Marty Lyons.
Your host, Connor Law.
Hey Matt, how you doing tonight?
I am doing good. Just keep refreshing Twitter to see if any news comes out, but still a little quiet today, Connor.
The only positive I saw today was bringing it back, obviously, the great Greg the Leg line. We let Huff walk, which really, really kills me just because that guy is so talented. And, 3 years, 51, I think he got 51 it was. I would do that in a heartbeat if I was the Jets. I would do that all day. I mean, Jake Asman. I caught while I was on the bus ride home. I caught some Jake Asman, and when I didn't realize this until he actually mentioned it. We did what was it? Carl Lawson, 3 years, $45 million, and Bryce Huff was only commanding around $6 million more than that. And looking back, I'm the first to tell you that Carl Lawson signing was incredible. Like at the time, I thought Carl Lawson was incredible. I mean, still, he's a top player on most teams in the NFL. The Jets just have such a solid rotation that we didn't really fit him in. But, I still think that was such a good signing at the time for the Jets. And, I can't blame JD for making a move like that at the time when it looked like a great signing at the time. What about you, Matt? What are your thoughts on free agency? I know it just started 7 hours and 33 minutes ago, but how you feeling so far? Rough start.
Yeah, like you said, rough start. The Bryce Huff one is really annoying. Like I know we all
Yeah.
saw that one coming, but you mentioned it with Carl Lawson, a contract that I at the time liked, and they were similar players because they weren't really given it much of a chance in their own, the team that drafted them or the team that they started their career with in Cincinnati for Carl Lawson. But you got the production, the sacks were there for Bryce Huff. He goes to a team in the Philadelphia Eagles that has done a really good job with that roster. And I think he's going to fit in very, very nicely there. And, it's been quiet for the Jets so far. And until they make a move, that's going to be the biggest talking point is losing Bryce Huff. So,
Yeah, I agree. I know it's been like a rough day because I know Jets fans were all expecting that this move was coming, that we were gonna get rid of Bryce Huff, but I feel like no one really just like expected it to happen today. And I when I saw that news break, I really was like, good for him. Good for Bryce Huff. He deserves to go out and get money and play with the team that'll play him all three downs. Like he deserves that. So great for Bryce Huff. I think he 100% deserves that. He couldn't deserve that any. I wish all the best for Bryce Huff. I hope he goes out and know it's early, but I hope this guy has a Hall of Fame career. I mean, he did show flash incredible seasons with the Jets, and he kind of just bursted onto the scene this year. Like no one really expected this years back. Some Jets fans probably didn't know Bryce Huff's name last year. I mean, he was really solid last year, but still not a lot of Jets fan. No, thank you guys. We got 300 people in the stream right now. Thank you, Matt, for retweeting the link. Much appreciated. We got a bunch of viewers on. Hope we can get some news while we're on this stream. We got Jack Olverian here in that picture, the thumbnail. Doesn't Joe Douglas look like Alan from the Hangover movie without hair, of course? No wonder we're screwed. Maybe we need to hire Mr. Chow as offensive coordinator. WTF. I couldn't agree with you more there, Jack. What about you, Matt?
yeah, that's pretty funny. I didn't think
Yeah.
of that until we saw that comment in here. But yeah, it's been quiet. And look, like for Joe, he can go out and have a big day tomorrow and salvage it for himself. But again, losing a fan favorite in Bryce Huff and then not really having much done so far is going to be tough on him for now.
Yep, I agree. We got Wild Wave in here, sub friends. Good to see you, Wild Wave. Appreciate all your support. You and Dakota are definitely some of the best of the best in the Jets YouTube community. Always in every stream. Burns to the Giants. Wow, I didn't see that was made official. I did see him that there was definitely a very good chance that he was gonna go and play for the Giants. Good for him. Solid player. I mean, he had to go through that rough time with the Panthers. I mean, the Giants aren't much better, but still an upgrade for Burns. Really, really solid player. Hope the best for him. But going back to the Jets and free agency and possible options when it comes to tackle and stuff, could you see the Jets going maybe like the Illuminor direction? Like we all know Tyron Smith. Tyron Smith has been the talk of the town the last few weeks. Same with Bakhtiari, and no one's really been talking about Jermaine Illuminor, who I think is a very solid option on the market, given that we have some guys off the market that the Jets were looking for. What are your thoughts on Illuminor, and like what are some other tackle names other than the obvious ones that you think the Jets could really have the chance that they'll go after them?
Well, unfortunately, right before he got started, he signed with the Giants on a 2
Oh, he
year.
did Illuminor.
Yeah.
Oh wow, I didn't see that. Thank you.
Yeah, 2-year deal. I believe it was $14 million total. So like a $7 million AAV. Yeah, 2 year, $7 million. Just
Good
7
player.
Yeah, he is. I think that would have been a really good value find. At tackle, David Bakhtiari, they're going to get connected to because of Aaron Rodgers. Kevin Zeitler's still out there. Mike Onwenu's still out there. Those really, the last two names are the ones that I'd be really interested in Onwenu and Zeitler. But I'm sure both guys are going to have a ton of different offers, and the Jets are going to have to get in a bidding war, which they haven't really done yet.
Yep. I agree. The Jets are not a team to get it in the bidding war. Guys, thank you so much. We just hit 400 guys in the chat. Jigaman Porto. Great job, Connor. Marty. Oh, Maddie. I thought it said Marty. I was like, what? Maddie is another GOAT guess. Matt O'Leary is one of one. I mean, whether it's his daily content on Matt O'Leary or the weekly Just Jets podcast that has been going on for a long time now. Love Matt O'Leary. Definitely one of the top Jets guys out there. 100%. Love him.
You're coming to the job. You're going to be up there very, very soon.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. But, just hoping, refreshing on Twitter at the second, just hoping we can get a move done. I feel like, I hate to say it. I hate to be negative, but I personally think Bakhtiari is going to be the guy who the Jets sign, and he'll be like the big move in free agency. Like, Jake Asman, I give credit to this guy. He's been saying it all along. If he can pass a physical and we can get him on a vet minimum, why not? I personally agree with that, but I really don't feel comfortable with him starting, even if he can pass a physical. Personally, I think he's a solid backup option, but I'd rather those like the Tyron Smith, those guys, the Jonah Williams, the Trent Brown, those are probably the sexy names, but there are other guys like Michael Onwenu you mentioned. I know a lot of Jets fans are high on him, but I wait to see what the Patriots do with him. I think it's a red flag that they haven't re-signed him already. The guy was a backup till last year. They have now that's probably less, but a couple days ago they had $101 million in cap room. That's a red flag to me if they don't re-sign a homegrown kid and with $101 million in cap room. I think he's a solid option, but do see the Jets going in the Bakhtiari route. I know you've said it, Donovan Smith. Hate to hate him. I mean, the kid's from Hempstead, but I really don't like him personally. I would be upset. I would rather have Bakhtiari over Smith if it came down to those two. I really don't see the Jets going after Smith. He's all right. A guy was really upset who was off the market today was Cushenberry. I thought he would have been a good option. Upset he's gone, but there are still some good guards. Robert Hunt, the contract that he got is crazy.
Yeah, insane. I was not expecting $100 million contract for Robert Hunt. That was a huge surprise.
Yep, Glasgow. I like. Zeitler's probably my number one in my opinion.
Yep,
Kevin Zeitler is my number one option at guard just because of the age, but At this point, we're looking for a 1-2 year rental. It's not like we're investing in this guy for 5-6 years. Like, this is a 1 to 2 year rental. Shove him in there. Older guy, but veteran. 1-2 year deal. Probably get him $4 or $5 million a year. He'll produce better than Lakin, I hope at least. And staying with the offensive line, one more thing before I let you go. I think AVT needs to stay at guard, but I like the flexibility that we can kind of decide where we want to play him.
Yeah, I agree with that too. With AVT and Joe Tittman, those are two guys that could play multiple positions. So I wouldn't really make any decisions on where they're going to play right now until you sign some guys in free agency and then kind of see where the chips fall. For Zeitler, I'm going to bring up a comparison a little bit before your time. But when I was around your age, the Jets signed Alan Faneca in 2008 and was a really good guard for them for 2 years in 2008 and 2009. And he was a veteran at the end of his career. So I'm not against adding a vet on a short-term deal. I think Zeitler would be a really good fit for that one.
Zeitler, I look at him, great option. And, there are, personally, I didn't know who Isaiah Oliver was until yesterday, if I'm being completely honest. I do think we'll see some of those in Jets free agency, like the nobodies that we kind of plug in there. But, in order to make the Jets Twitterverse somewhat happy, I feel like the Jets do need to go after a big name and sign them tonight, because Jets Twitter is going crazy right now. And, other teams have been active. Like, there were huge names that were signed today. Like, the Jets, come on, you got to go out. And did you see, I don't know if you saw, but the whole Quincy Enunwa thing on the Jets YouTube, like, saying he has, like, inside information where Tyron Smith is going because he went to, like, high school with him. The Jets did, like, a podcast episode on with I think it was Eric Allen, like one of the team reporters. They just posted on the Jets YouTube, and it was like him and Quincy Enunwa, and Enunwa made like an interesting comment, like he has like inside information with the Tyron Smith situation because they went to high school together. I found that interesting. I don't know why he'd come on a Jets show and kind of say that, maybe hinting towards the Jets. Tyron Smith, though, really, really like the guy. I do think we can get him on a deal where not a ton of guaranteed money, but then like a ton. I'd rather put him on a deal with not a ton of guaranteed money, but then just millions of incentives if he could just like stay healthy the full season. Like, I think like conditionals for like, you realize if Aaron Rodgers played more than like half the snaps or something, we wouldn't even have a first round pick right now. Like, but that was great for Joe Douglas to plug in that deal, because if Aaron Rodgers played around half the snaps, we would have probably made the playoffs.
Agree.
And if he didn't, we'd have that top 10, top 15 kind of pick. So that was a great move by Joe Douglas. I mean, looking back, the trade was, I guess, fine. But staying with the Packers before I let you go, I think Aaron Jones would be great player to bring in and add as an RB2. I think he's solid. Obviously, if you guys didn't see, the Packers cut Aaron Jones and signed Josh Jacobs. So Packers have been active on the free agent market today, Matt.
Yeah, they have moving pieces around. I would like Aaron Jones at the right price. I think if he's going to get close to the $10 million a year and wants to be a starting running back somewhere, then it's not really a good fit for the New York Jets. But if he's willing to be more in that $5 to $7 million range, he's a good pass protector. He's good out of the backfield catching the ball. He was good in the playoffs last year and down the stretch for Green Bay. I think he has something left in the tank. And obviously he wouldn't be the lead guy. Bryce would be, but I think it's like a better, higher ceiling option than what Dalvin Cook was for them last year.
Yeah, at the time, Dalvin Cook, I'm the first to tell you I'm the most overhyped when the Jets sign a player like that. But like Dalvin Cook, I thought was a great signing for the Jets at the time. I thought it was a really good signing. And, obviously it didn't pan out the way we wanted to. But at the time, I mean, Bryce, there was a chance that Bryce came out and really did nothing after that ACL and really took a season or maybe two to recover. Like, if you look, Saquon after that ACL took a full season and a half really to fully recover. So I think Bryce being fully healthy was definitely major for this team and helps them absolute ton. But, Dalvin Cook was a great signing. Aaron Jones can come in next year and play like Dalvin Cook. Like, their players in general are just so unpredictable. Like, a player can go off of like a great year And you see it in baseball all the time. I mean, I'm gonna make a comparison to the Mets real quick, but like the first year we got Francisco Lindor from the Guardians, he had a horrible season. He was batting 215, so you just never know what you're gonna get when you really acquire these guys in trades or free agency. But yeah, I do think Aaron Jones is a good option, but I need the Jets to be aggressive at some point, whether it's the first wave, second wave of free agency. I do need the Jets personally to go out and get a big name.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think eventually, when the dust starts to settle here, that's when Joe Douglas has to come in and start to make some moves because they do have too many holes to plug, whether it's at O-line or adding a receiver or something. Like there's things that need to happen. And, it's a good thing that there's still some names left. Like I understand that there's panic right now, and I get it. It's been a boring first day, but there are still names that are available who could come in and be an upgrade for the Jets. So I'm curious to see the direction that they go. There's a lot that they could do still on the table. But a slow first day is never fun. I wish we were on here talking about all the different signings they made.
I totally agree. Let's go back. Let's go back to the chat. Wild Wave. The good news is that we can erase Alt to the Giants. Bad news is the Chargers are very interested. Yeah, I think Joe Alt to the Chargers is probably going to happen. What about you, Matt?
I could totally see that. I really could. That seems like a guy that Harbaugh would really like. I could also see them going with a weapon. Like they could use some youth in that wide receiver room. They could end up moving on from Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. So we'll see how they decide to handle their cap situation with their wide receiver room. But Joe Alt in the powder blue, you could just see it.
Yeah, I know. I know, Matt, the talk of the town today has been free agency, but I have a question for you in the draft. If, let's say, Romo Dunze, miracle happens, he's here at 10. Romo Dunze's on the board at 10. Are you taking him or are you passing up? Because if Romo Dunze's on the board at 10, I know a lot of it has to depend on free agency, but if Romo Dunze's on the board at 10, I'm running up to that podium and picking Romo Dunze.
I totally get where you're coming from on that. I think he's a great player. And like, I would not be upset if the Jets just came out and signed or drafted rather Odunze with the 10th pick. But my answer would have to be, it really depends on what they do in free agency. Like if there's still a very obvious glaring hole and they pass up on one of the tackles that's there, that might be a tough pill to swallow. So I'll say it depends on one, what they do in free agency, and two, how the board breaks. But like, I'm not going to be upset if Odunze is the pick. He's a very, very talented player and would be a good running mate for Garrett Wilson.
Yeah, I definitely would not be upset if the Jets went in the Odunze direction. Or I've been really interested. I've been really intrigued. I've been listening to the Sycamore Rogers Stock Exchange on PFF a lot recently. Really like what they're saying. Trading down to like the 15-20 for maybe like a Fatanu guy. I'd do that in a heartbeat. If you trade down for 15, get a good package. I think people are going to be eager to come up and get McCarthy. I've seen it in some simulators where Daniels falls to 10. Some simulators I've seen it where he comes to 10. We're still in I know the draft is a little more than a month away, but a lot of stuff can happen with like the pro day stuff. Like, I know it was very mild, but when Fashanu got injured at the combine, I got a little nervous there.
Yeah.
That's why I was like, these guys shouldn't even. I personally look at the combine. I mean, I guess it's good for some things, but I look at it and I think it's one of the dumbest events in all of football if you really think about it. I think they should take away like the guaranteed top players, and I think it should be like I feel like it impacts like the day 3 guys the most. I think the Senior Bowl is the combine. I feel like that's where players like actually get seen and
I agree.
What they can do. I really don't think the combine makes or breaks anyone's draft stock. Like you look, Marvin Harrison, I know he didn't really participate a ton, but if he went out there and literally just made a laughing stock of himself, no one really would have cared because he's the best wide receiver in the draft. And I feel like that goes for a lot of people at their respective positions. But back to the chat, Alan, Jets are a complete laughing stock. Joe Douglas does realize this team needs 3 O-linemen, a wide receiver 2, and an edge 3. That's a few needs. The Jets couldn't pay more than $7 million a year for Illuminor.
Alan, notoriously not a big Joe Douglas guy. I can't say that Alan's a big Joe Douglas fan. I'm mad at Joe right now, Alan. I don't think he's handled this very well. I would like to say, can we put a pin in it? And if a week from now they still haven't signed anyone, then I will absolutely be right there with Alan and saying, what the hell is happening here? But I don't know. I just want to give it a little bit more time. I'm frustrated. I get it. I'm annoyed. I wish they made a move at this point, but I'm gonna say I want to see how the chips fall first.
I just saw. I just saw a tweet from. I'd never heard this guy. Just put in hashtag Jets. He said, "Breaking news: sources are telling me due to the leap year and daylight savings, the Jets thought free agency started tomorrow. Joe Douglas is currently leaving a Wendy's drive-thru and will be arriving at one Jets drive shortly to assess what players are remaining."
That's fantastic. Like,
Yeah, I'm just trying to predict what's going through Joe Douglas's mind right now, as I have no idea how he has not. But who knows? Maybe the Jets were all in on Illuminor and didn't and missed out, or they were all in on trying to bring back Bryce Huff. But Connor Hughes said they wanted to bring Bryce Huff back, but weren't super aggressive. I feel like if the Jets, like I mentioned earlier in the show, matched that offer, he would have still said, "Love you guys, love New York, but I'm going to the Eagles."
yeah, I don't blame him from that. Like, I don't have any ill will towards Bryce Huff. He got, a ton of money, went to a great organization that is perfect for his skill set. They have Vic Fangio now on that defense, and they're just gonna, let Bryce Huff get after the quarterback, do his thing, and I think it's a good fit there for him. But no, I'm totally with you on that. I think he probably would have ended up walking even if they went that high. It's frustrating because it never should have gotten to that point. That's all.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Aurora in the chat, good to see you. What's his Snowballs in the chat, good to see you, Snowball. NY Jets superfan with a question. The Jets are playing it smart. Today's signings were all overpays. Illuminor stinks. Don't you guys watch football?
Oh, come on. Come on.
NY Jets superfan, I love you, but I that's not one of your best comments on the chat. I think Illuminor is very solid, but if I'm being completely honest, the Jets are not being smart whatsoever. If the Jets were being smart, they would have already signed several guys. But got to get in their defense. 7 hours and 53 minutes in, got to give them some time. Jets are not the team, not always the team that goes out right at noon and just plugs away. And Joe Douglas is not Howie Roseman. There's a reason Joe Douglas is no longer with the Eagles and Howie Roseman is with the Eagles right now. It's because they're just like, I know we're getting off the Joe Douglas topic, but I look at Howie Roseman and he's one of the best GMs I think to ever. Recently, definitely for sure. Like the trades he made, I saw. Oh, I saw it on Instagram Reels. It might have been a couple of weeks ago. Like how a trade panned out that he made with the Carson Wentz trade. It was how that Carson Wentz trade panned out, and it was all these draft guys, and that it was like absolutely crazy how he constructed that perfectly with all these guys. Okay, we're gonna send Carson Wentz out. We're gonna bring these guys in. Just like the way that all like he's had bad trades too, but like the good to bad ratio is just the drop off is humongous.
Yeah, well, like think about it. They won a Super Bowl in 2017.
Yep.
Traded away their starting quarterback and was back in a Super Bowl in 2022. Like he's done a really good job, and that organization over the last, I don't know, 7-8 years has been one of the best, rosters in the league over that time. So I'm with you. I think he's done tremendous work there, and that's a red flag for me that the Eagles are, willing to pay up the money for Bryce Huff, but the Jets couldn't be bothered.
I totally agree with you, Alan. I truly believe offensive linemen free agents are spooked to play for Keith Carter. I also don't blame them. I think I saw a report that came from Rich Samini earlier today that they just dispatched Keith Carter to go to Fashanu's pro day, I believe it was.
Yeah, it was from. I saw that too. Yeah, it was somebody's. It could have been for. I don't remember whose pro day.
It was Penn State's pro day. So yeah, I'm assuming they were looking for Fashanu.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Oh, I said it. I was talking about it last week. I don't know who I was talking to a guest. No, it was Gunny from Jet Situation Report. Love Gunny, great guy. And I was saying I'm so nervous the Jets are just gonna like blow out in free agency and just literally sit and not do anything. And that's my biggest fear. But gotta stay positive. Gotta hope they go out and do something. Matt, we got an Islander question for you from Alan.
Oh boy, here we go.
Matt and I are also Islanders. He was talking to Wild Wave, and then he said, I knew it was time to cut bait on Lambert and bring in a real coach, and look at them now. Nothing will change with the Jets until this regime is gone. What are your thoughts, Matt? I know you're a big Islander guy. Love up the turnpike. I'm a diehard Ranger fan, but love to see you, obviously, up the turnpike, Greater Long Island. I always see you on my Instagram reels on Greater Long Island talking all things Long Island world. So, Matt, what are your thoughts on the question from Alan?
They have looked very, very different since making the change at head coach. They are much more involved in their offensive zone. They're getting out of their own end better. There's not as many dumb turnovers. They're not blowing as many leads. It took them a little bit to get in gear, but over this 6-game winning streak, they look dangerous, and now they're back in a playoff spot. So fingers crossed they could end the season hot and hopefully make the playoffs here.
I'm a Ranger fan, so it's looking pretty nice for us right now, but gotta stay positive. I mean, they basically just went after the Rangers, at least went after like a bunch of like depth guys at the deadline. Didn't really do anything too flashy, but love talking hockey. Love hockey. Hockey is definitely one of my favorite sports to watch. Great overall sport. But let's go back to talking Jets. NY Jets super fan. The Jets' plan is to sign Bakhtiari or Tyron Smith. AVT. Then he corrected it to left guard. One more thing before we finish the question. Austin Eckler is going over to Washington to play with the Commanders. Just got a notification reported by Jordan Schultz of Bleacher Report. So interesting news there. I expected Eckler to be out of the Chargers organization, but I knew the Commanders were going to spend big money, but didn't really expect him going there. But back to the question, AVT to left guard, he meant they will sign a vet guard or a vet guard, yes, my bad. Vet guard or center and draft a right tackle. They will also sign a fast wide receiver like Mooney or Hollywood. Stop panicking.
I don't love Hollywood. Of the two, I think I would rather Mooney for his cost. I like how he stretches the field and would be a little bit of a deep threat in this offense. The Bakhtiari and Smith tandem at left, like Smith is the better option, but he misses a lot of time too, so that scares me a little bit. I don't know. It's just I'm running low on patience. That's all. I know I should be a little bit more patient. It's still very early in the process, but I think our concerns are valid. I don't think anyone should say like the Jets had a failure of an offseason on day one, but I do think you could be a little bit concerned with some of the guys that have gone and the lack of moves so far.
Yeah, I mean, I think free agency, though, especially, is just going to have a lot to do with our draft strategy. Like, I think what happens in these next couple of weeks is really going to impact our draft strategy a ton. Just because, like, who knows? Maybe we go out and sign Tyron Smith. We still probably will take a tackle in the first round, but I mean, that does shuffle things around a little. Like, what if we sign 2 wide receivers in free agency? I really don't see that happening. At least 2 wide receivers who can fit on this depth chart and be valuable pieces. I really don't see that happening. But let's say that happens. Do we avert and do we not draft a Roman Wilson type of guy? It just so much relies on what happens. So much of the draft strategy relies on what happens in these next couple weeks. But yeah, the only 2 things I've liked that I've seen so far. Chuck Clark,
Yep.
it was interesting. I was in a Twitter space earlier with Petey, your boy, who you were on with last Monday. Petey's a great guy, and the Jets Twitter kind of crew. And I said the Jets were going to sign Chuck Clark to a 1-year, $3.5 million deal, and they did that like 2 hours after I said that, which was kind of funny. And then the Jets signed Greg the Leg to a 2-year, $8.4 million. Personally, I thought the Jets were going to let him walk, and I got really scared, but they kept him, which I am really happy about. Now the next steps are Morstead and Hardy. We just need to get those 2 back, and then we're good for special teams. But those 3, like the second today started at noon, Douglas should have called Morstead, Hardy, and Zerline's agents, brought them to Florham Park and said, what do we need to do to bring all three of you back? Because that's like $4 million a year, a little more than that. But Zach Rosenblatt said that it was going to be similar to Cairo Santos, 4-year, $20 million deal. So in 4 years, at $20 million it was Cairo Santos signed. So $4 million a year for Greg the Leg. I'll do all day, but, just patiently waiting.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think Thomas Morstead signs on Wednesday. I was reading somewhere that for some reason there was like some clause in his contract he couldn't sign until Wednesday for some
Oh,
reason.
really? I
Yeah,
didn't see that.
I think Samini had it either yesterday or the day before, but I would expect that to happen on Wednesday. And I think Hardy had a tweet earlier today. I was like the prayer hands emoji, so maybe he's getting the deal done, hopefully. But I like him. I think it would be worthwhile to bring him back. It's not going to cost you a whole lot. And the Jets special team unit's been a good one for the last couple of years, so makes sense to keep that band together.
Yeah, I mean, Bryce Hall tweet, really, I was like, yes, Bryce, come on. I hope JD sees that. I hope every person associated with the Jets sees that tweet about the O-line. Oscar the Grouch, Matt, why can't we just be compared? Why can't we just be a competent organization for once? Every NFL team is signing great free agents, and all we do is sign Chuck Clark and a third-string cornerback from the Niners. Are you kidding me?
It's a good question. Again, I'm gonna try my best to preach patience. Easier said than done, but it's frustrating when literally like every single team is signing guys left and right, and the Jets have they've retained some of their own guys. As you mentioned, Chuck Clark, Greg the Leg. Glad both are back, but let's get into that external free agency now.
Couldn't agree with you more. You got to bring the necessities back that we had on the team already. Al Woods, I don't like if he doesn't want to retire. There's still a very good chance he retires. I don't care about that ACL injury. You need to bring him back. Personally, no one's been talking about it because everyone's saying he's going to retire. But if he does not retire, I personally think he needs to come back. He was great against the run, but his age. But I mean, look, the ACL is going to play a big role in it. He really tore up that ACL last year, obviously in the Broncos game. But there were talks, staying with the defensive tackles, there were talk about the Foley Fatu Kasi reunion. I was a big fan of that. I thought him and his brother Florenzo, I remember, were on the Jets at the same time in like 2018, 2019, that type of time where the Jets were, believe it or not, worse than they are today. So, I was up for that, but then Connor Hughes said the Jets didn't really have interest. I feel like a lot of this has to do, like, this reunion talk has to do with like just one person putting out a tweet or like an Instagram post, and then it becoming like the Jets are actually going to do it. Like whether it was like the Jamal Adams thing or like the Fatu Kasi. Like I found it so funny. Like theoretically, Jamal Adams was a great fit, but like the whole like Connor Hughes thing or like the Cause thing, like didn't really see him coming back. But I love seeing a former Jet who was so good with the Jets, who had just a horrible year with a horrible season, a couple seasons with another team come crying back to us, because normally it's the other way around. We give them up and then they play at the level of a Hall of Famer. So happy to see him not have success, if I'm being completely honest. But I loved him with the Jets, and I don't think he's gonna get a ton of money, but I wish the best for him. I thought he was a good Jet.
Yeah, it's I think how it ended kind of
it
wasn't gonna how he really forced his way out, burned some bridges on the way out. So I just he could sign somewhere else. I think it's done.
Yep. Let's get back into the chat. Yeah, NY Jets superfan just mentioned Morse that he played on a vet salary benefit contract last year, so he can't sign till Monday. And then AJ Osborne saying he is very surprised. He's upset that Illuminor signed with the Giants. Illuminor would have been a solid option for this team. And then NY Jets superfan again. I think the safety market is down this year. I would love us to get Cameron Curl. We need a defensive tackle. Who do you see us signing?
I don't think they're going to be crazy active in the safety market. Like they just brought back Chuck Clark. Maybe they bring back Ashton Davis, and then like those are your two strong safeties, and Tony Adams is your free safety. For defensive tackle, I'd like to see them retain Quentin Jefferson and Solomon Thomas. Anything after that, I think, is a bonus. But I don't think they're going to spend big money at that position. Like Eric Armstead, I know obviously has the connection to Salah, but I don't think the Jets are going to spend that kind of money on the position.
Yeah, I don't think the Jets are going to spend like the Eric Armstead money you just mentioned. You mentioned a few good names there, all guys I like. Solomon Thomas, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. That guy needs to be back next year. That guy is just such a solid player. I think he had a 5-sack season, and it wasn't even him against the pass that really stood out to me. It was him against the run. He was just against the run. He was so freaking good, and I'd bring that back all day. This defense is like, if you really look at it, other than like Sauce, Tremaine, and like, I guess if you look back at Bryce Huff, and I guess DJ Reed too, like, this is not really like a really expensive defense. Like, this is kind of like a budget defense with a bunch of guys who really panned out. Like Quincy Williams, obviously we brought him back on that deal, but I mean, he was a budget guy off waivers. Michael Carter II, like those guys, like Brendan Eccles, who has showed some flashes with the Jets. Like, all these guys are like budget players. They're not like these guys that we're spending all this money on. So, I don't know. The Jets haven't really spent a ton of money on this defense, and it's already at a top 5 level. If we could pair someone like a very, very solid veteran safety, even, or a very, very solid edge rusher, we maybe get out and grab. I mean, I know Will McDonald said we were gonna. We thought Will McDonald is gonna. We think Will McDonald's gonna replace Bryce Huff. I don't see that happening, but I hope he can, but. I saw Jake Asman again. Heard him talking about it the other day. Will McDonald's already better than Vernon Golston, so only go up from here.
That's a great point. That's true. He already has had more of an impact than Vernon Golston in his short career with the New York Jets. But yeah, it's big shoes to fill. Big shoes to fill there. So hopefully he can do it.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you guys. We just hit 700 viewers on the stream. Appreciate all the support. Zebo, the Jet fan. How do you feel about Fuaga? I know he had a great RAS score, but he just doesn't look like an elite athlete.
I like Fuaga. I would be good if the Jets took him in the first round. I think he's a plug and play right tackle. I think he's a strong, physical in the run game. He's not crazy like fast, but I would say he's a good enough athlete. Yeah, I like him. I think he would fit well with the Jets at right tackle.
Fuaga, yeah. Fuaga, the pronouncing of the last name is really what upsets me. I mean, it used to be Fuega before we really went into the draft. Then it became Fuaga. Now it's apparently like Funga or something. I know. Tylise, that's what I'm going to call him. Tylise, I think he's a solid prospect. I'd take him. You said Zebo, you said you like Latham. I'm not a big Latham guy, if I'm being completely honest. I like the Fatanus. I like the Tyler Guytons. Amarius Mims is all right in my opinion. I'm all for trading back in the draft though. Like, I'm 100% all in on trading back in the draft. Even if that, like, I've seen mock drafts with like Dom C and these guys, like the draft analysts, who have the Jets literally trade back into like the 15 area and then trade back into the 20s and then trade back all the way till midway through the second round. So there are like so many scenarios, like so many ways the Jets can go. And then there's been minimal talk like Connor Rogers and Sycamore that there's a chance the Jets can trade up for alt. I'd love that. I just don't see that happening. I have a question for you. I've asked a few guys this now. Would you give up next year's 2 and then obviously 10 to trade up 3 picks and go grab Joe Alt? Because I would.
Yeah, I would too.
Yep.
I obviously they don't have a second rounder this year, so that's really the only way that they could do it. But I would. I think he's definitely a better prospect than any of the other tackles.
Yep, I agree. Trevor from Canada. How can McDonald be Bryce Huff's replacement if he only played 25% of the snaps all season? That's what makes me uncomfortable. Will can be a superstar, but he doesn't play enough.
He will get more snaps this year, and even in 2022, like Bryce Huff, I think only played around 20 to 25% of the snaps. They're going to ask, I think, Will McDonald to probably double his snap count, be closer to 45% this year. It's a gamble. It's definitely a gamble going and trying to make that work, but they obviously believe in him. They took him at 15, and that was, higher than most people had him. So the Jets regime really likes him. That much is obvious.
Yep. I agree. King Lowski in here. King Lowski is a legend in the Jake Asman realm. Guys, pin comment in the chat if you'd like to call into the show. Jeffrey is asking the obvious question that everyone has been asking so far today. What the hell is Joe Douglas doing right now? Personally, I can't answer that question because I have no idea what Joe Douglas is doing. But I pray we can get something done, make Jets fans happy at least for the time being, and hope we have a successful free agency. And then Jack coming in. Green Bean would have had a dozen players signed already. Douglas is making me drink way too much.
Green Bean for GM. I'm absolutely on that bandwagon. He knows his stuff.
Yeah.
So not wrong there, Jack.
Yeah, I know. Just please, guys, please sign someone tonight. Please, just one move, and have it be someone that the Jets fan base has heard of, and not like a Isaiah Oliver was his name, I believe. Tropical D. Calvin Ridley needs to be signed. Yeah, I do think he needs to be signed, but I personally don't want him come to the Jets if we're gonna be in play for like Cortland Sutton and maybe like a what's his name, T. Higgins by trade. What about you, Matt?
Yeah, it's going to be really dependent on what his market looks like. Like if he's getting $20+ million a year, I don't know if the Jets are going to be in on that. I think they should explore the trade market. So, I mean, Sutton, you just brought him up, but that's a name I feel like I talk about a lot. I think he'd be a good fit on the Jets. I would explore the trade market because I think he's going to just get a monster deal in free agency somewhere.
Yep. I totally agree with you. Ricky NY, let's not talk about what. I'm in a mood. Ricky is referring to Bryce Huff.
Yeah.
But, I don't even want to mention his name personally. Like, he was so solid. Just, I hate to see him go. But Trevor coming back in. Matt and Connor, would you guys be comfortable with taking a day 3 quarterback in the draft, and would you feel confident in Hackett and this coaching staff to properly develop them? Matt, I'll let you go first on this one.
I would be comfortable taking a day 3 quarterback. And I think it's more Aaron than Hackett and the rest of the coaching staff. And just having him sit and not have to go in and play right away. It's a fair critique or a fair rebuttal to mention that you don't think the coaching staff is good enough to develop someone. I get that. But I think it's beneficial to take a flyer on a quarterback in, any round, 3rd, 4th, 5th round, somewhere in that window.
Yeah, I agree. Trevor, this is a very good question. Yes to the first part. I would love to take a day 3 quarterback. Honestly, no to the second part. I think it's like Matt mentioned, Aaron Rodgers. And if it wasn't going to be Aaron Rodgers, no. If we didn't have Aaron Rodgers right now, I would not feel comfortable with Hackett and the coaching staff developing him. Like, honestly, I've just, I'm at my tipping point when it comes to this offensive coaching staff, especially in general. I was so happy that one night when they were like, it wasn't really official, but like we saw the reports kind of floating that Calabrese was going to go over and join the Rams. I'm happy that happened. I just I didn't know how that guy had a job. I didn't really know where that guy came from. He really just kind of showed up in the Jets organization, really out of nowhere. And then obviously, I think anyone who was creditable for coaching Zach Wilson should really not be on this team anymore. It's tough. It's tough because staying with Zach Wilson, though, if you go back to that draft, who would we have been better off taking? Like in the first round of those guys, Mac Jones just went for a 6th round pick. Justin Fields, I guess you could probably get like a 2nd or a 3rd, but he's not much better.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. It's unfortunate. There was a very hyped up draft class, and 5 guys went in the first round, and Trevor Lawrence is the only one who really has a future with his team right now, it feels like. And, he's coming off a season where he struggled and didn't play as well as some thought he would this year. So quarterback's hard. It's hard to draft that position. I liked the pick at the time with Zach Wilson. I thought he was a good prospect, but just didn't work out. And you got to just cut your losses and move on.
I agree. We had a caller on the line, and then he hopped off. Ricky said he will join the phone line in a few minutes. But then we got a question from Terry. What about swapping 1st round picks with Denver and getting Sutton, and then the Jets throw in Zach Wilson?
Sure, I would do that. Absolutely. I think that would you move down 2 spots, right? Denver's 12 to do that. I think that makes sense.
Yep, that's actually I haven't really heard that idea. Think it's a solid option. Champ Star, Matt, I don't know if this question was for me or you. I didn't really understand this. Hey, it's Gino from Ginny. It's Gino, the Ginny from MySpace. You haven't aged at all. Was that towards you?
I don't know. I wasn't on MySpace. MySpace is even a little bit before me, so I don't know.
Yeah. All right. I appreciate the support. Champ Star, Tropical D coming back in. Did you guys see the breakdown of the times Joe Douglas signs his first free agents by year? Yeah, I'll pull that up real quick. Actually, me. It was from Dylan from New York Jets fans only.
Okay.
He put out a thing of when the Jets signed. I don't know why it's not coming up, but when the Jets signed their first free agents, and it was like the times that they signed them, and it was like George Fan at like this time. It was really all right. Here, let me see. Let's share my screen. All right. Don't know why it's not letting me do this, but let's see. All right, there we go. So let's see. Here we go. You guys got it?
There we go.
Yep, those were like the dates and times that Joe Douglas signed his first free agents.
So he's usually a little bit slow.
Yeah, I mean, let's see. 9:11 p.m., 7:49 p.m., 8:53 p.m., 1:56 was his earliest, and we know how Laken Tomlinson panned out. CJ Uzama, and then Alan Lazard was his first signing of free agency last year, and that was day 2. And we know how Alan Lazard had the year Alan Lazard had. So interesting. I saw that earlier today. So just interesting. Champ Star coming back in. Gino equals young kid from MySpace that used to do comedy videos. Hilarious. Looked a lot like Connor.
That's funny.
I I understand now. If I'm being completely honest, Champ Star, I didn't know what MySpace was until about you tweeted that not tweeted, you put that comment in the chat, so thank you for introducing me to MySpace.
It was
And that
it was Facebook before Facebook.
that's what it was. All right.
Yeah.
Jack, tell Green Bean the hell with the coaster tour. Next year he's going to go on the free agent tour. Tell him to dust off his motor home and bring us all along. We'll get some stuff done. Matt, now I have a question for you related to Green Bean. Is he still living in an RV right now?
No, he lives in Virginia for about the last year, maybe a little bit more than that, but for 2 years drove around the country, lived in an RV during the COVID times. Crazy. He's a very interesting guy.
Wow, yeah, I know. I went on that Coaster YouTube channel the other day, and it looked like the last video he posted was like 2 years ago. I don't know. Gator, who made me the incredible intro, I don't know if you saw it, but when Green Bean was on Jake Asman's show about like 10 months ago, Gator did like an impersonation of Green Bean as he called in, and it was hilarious. I definitely recommend checking that out. But Green Bean, I remember when you guys first started talking Jets. I don't think did he have a channel?
Originally, no. He was on Jets Nation and then made his own.
That's what it was.
Yeah, a year or so after that, I believe.
Yeah, that's what it was. Green Bean. I mean, he's at really good pace for when he started. Like he's been really solid, and then obviously the Green Bean Pod has been going on, I think, over 150 episodes already. So definitely got that going, and then obviously the 10 o'clock mock during draft season, and then the Thursday Thick of It, which is two great shows. Thursday Thick of It runs throughout mostly the entire year, and then he took a couple of weeks off when the season ended. Michael Sweat, don't expect any major signings from the Jets tonight. Totally understand, Michael. I think we're just hoping one deal gets done tonight. Just hoping one deal gets done. That's all I'm hoping for, Matt.
Yeah, that would be nice. Just A little pacifier till tomorrow would be good.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree. Jeffrey, this non-movement makes me think a trade is in the works. Trade in the works.
It's possible, right? Like that's definitely something that could be on the table, but we're not going to know until anything's announced. But that would be a reason to explain why they've been a little slow moving.
Yeah, maybe there is a trade in the works, but personally, that's beyond my knowledge. That's beyond my knowledge right now. No idea if there's a trade in the works. Not Michael Nania. A new GM would have been more aggressive today. I honestly don't know about that one. What about you, Matt?
Mm, I think most GMs were more aggressive today, so I think that's probably a fair take. Fair take from not Michael Nania.
Yeah. Oh, that a respectable opinion. Let's see. Trevor from Canada. Matt and Connor, I know we need offense, but what do you guys think about Patrick Queen? I think it would be a great addition to that linebacker room.
I don't think they're going to be in on linebacker after they have Mosley. They just signed Williams last year. I don't think they're going to. They have Jamie and Sherwood still on the roster. I don't think they're going to add at linebacker.
They probably won't, but Patrick Queen is a very solid player. Like I really like him. I think Patrick Queen, great linebacker from the Ravens. Why not? I linebacker though is interesting because we have that Mosley whole thing. We have that whole Mosley thing with the money. Do we push money down? Do we do this? Do we do that? A lot of like contradicting moves when it comes to the whole Mosley kind of saga. Let's go to Nick. Patience. With $20 million in cap room, the team has to be smart along with allocating funds to numerous needs. I agree, but I mean, I expected it. I expected one signing today, and I'm not going to say expected yet because we still have through midnight tonight to really see all the signings that officially play out.
Yeah, it's again, there's still plenty of time for stuff to happen, but I get why people are on edge today. It's been slow, and they do have a lot of needs, so it's time to get cracking. They got to get going eventually here.
I totally agree. Matt, I think that'll be it, guys. I'll be on standby if anything, any major news happens. Oh no, before we hop off, we have a caller on the line. Perfect timing. Let's see. There he is. Ricky, New York joins the show. Ricky, how are you doing tonight?
Yeah, I could be better. I was still kind of holding out hope that JD would come to his senses and Huff would not be leaving the building. But whatever. It's infuriating to me. For one thing, I've been a big supporter of JD. However, I honestly believe that he has draft stock bias because Huff wasn't a first rounder. He got traded like a third-rate citizen, and it's messed up. And the other thing, I mean, I don't know how many times we've heard that, JD learned from Ozzie Newsome. He didn't learn that from Ozzie Newsome, I can tell you that. And I don't know if he is just, so convinced that his way is the right way that he can't see the forest for the trees. I don't know. All I can say is Will McDonald better explode and be a beast this year. Otherwise, I'll go to New York and pack JD's bags myself. At any rate, a couple of things real quick that I wanted to throw in. I've got someone who's, I would say he's kind of plugged in, but more with like former players and former coaches than people that are actually in the organization right now. But he does know a lot of people. The guy that told me about Quandre Diggs the other day said, he would almost bet money that we look down that avenue. But late last night, he texted me and said the Jets are one of several teams that inquired about both Mike Williams and Keenan Allen. And there have been some preliminary talks with some of the teams. Nothing's, finalized yet. But you know what? As much as I'm irked that we haven't done anything substantial in free agency, you know what? If some team goes out and pays Ridley like 20 to 23 million a year and he plays like a 14 mil a year wide receiver, but then JD ends up getting Keenan Allen for a 3rd round pick, you know what? I am not going to be upset. Not even a little bit. And yeah, I'm hoping that there's something like that on the back burner right now that we don't know about that's going to restore some faith into this fan base. Because honestly, I think Keenan Allen with Rodgers would be just nasty.
Great call from Ricky. Ricky, thank you. Thank you for joining us. Great call, Matt. What are your thoughts before we get to our next caller, sad Jets fan?
Yeah, I hear what Ricky's saying there, and I think he brings up a good point, especially with Huff, with there being a little bit of a bias. It felt like they held against him that he was a UDFA and he never really got that full chance until it was too late. So I'm with him on that.
Yeah, I totally agree with what Ricky's saying. Our final caller before we wrap up the show, sad Jets fan. Sad Jets fan, how you doing tonight?
Not too bad. How you guys doing?
Doing good.
Good.
Hey man, go Jets. And man, this has been the same free agency for like 2 years in a row. I feel like it starts and we wait and nothing happens. Just nothing happens. And well, how do we let Bryce Huff go, man? You have a homegrown talent. We beg and pray for an edge guy all these years, and we have a homegrown guy with 10 sacks. And we don't franchise tag him. We don't give him a contract. We just let him walk. We give Alan Lazard $11 million a season. $11 million, and we can't cut out some money to pay Bryce Huff with 10 sacks. I just don't even know, man. I just don't even know. And then to watch free agency start today and all the offensive linemen come and go. What are we doing, man? What's Joe Douglas doing? Where's he at?
He's got to wake up.
Yeah.
Sleepy Joe.
I don't know, man.
JD.
We need a wide receiver too. We need, I don't know, 5 linemen probably through the draft or through free agency. I mean, however you want to get them. Because we need 3 starters and we need some backups. We need some swing guys. We get rid of Bryce Huff. Will McDonald, he's got to be the guy this year. He's got to be the guy, Like, and if Will McDonald gets hurt, then what? Who's the other edge guy? Jermaine Johnson and, JFM. That's pretty much it. So we're not – everybody thought we were so stacked at defensive end, and I don't think we're as stacked as everyone thinks we are. But, yeah, man, I don't know. We need to be aggressive and sign a wide receiver too, or I would love to get Calvin Ridley. 1,000 yards, 8 touchdowns. Sign me up all day. 8 touchdown wide receiver to the Jets. I'll take that.
It'd be nice.
Great call by sad Jets fans. I sad Jets fan. I agree with what you're saying there. And Ricky too. The fact that we let Huff go, and I agree with what Ricky was saying with the bias, but I do think it's just letting that talent go. It just really upsets me.
It's bad. It's just flat out really terrible management of your assets to have a guy like that in your building, develop him, and then let him walk and maybe get a 4th round comp pick for him next year. Great.
Yep. Totally agree with you. Matt, thank you for joining us. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, hopefully some more news tomorrow because did a lot of talking about the Jets today with not a lot happening. So it'd be more exciting to break some of these players down.
Thank you guys for watching. Hope we can get some news to break tonight. And as always, JETS Jets.